Hello and welcome. My name is Zafar Iqbal and you are watching the Mojo story. A major success for the security forces in Kashmir. Three terrorists have been killed. Three foreign terrorists, Pakistani terrorists, have been killed. You can see on the screen their bodies. They have been killed uh, on the peripheries of Srinagar in a place called Dachigam, which is a forested area. That's the place that they were at that time when the encounter took place. Security forces had a specific input about their presence. It was an operation that was carried out by the army, by the four para of the army, and the Jammu and Kashmir police and the CRPF. We are told that all these three terrorists were inside a tent and there was specific input about their presence. That's the time when they were neutralized. So three terrorists have been killed, and reports say one of them is said to be the mastermind of the Pahalgam terror attack, Hashim Musa. Now, Hashim Musa or Suleiman, he was the one whose sketches were released at the time of the Pahalgam attack. You can see on that screen, that's the sketch of this man when Pahalgam terror attack took place. An American rifle has been recovered from that place, and many grenades have also been found. Now, three bodies have been moved away. Of course, the secondary identification will take place. Some of the overground workers who have been taken into custody will, of course, be identifying them. But for now, we're told that three terrorists, including Hashim Musa, has been killed. Let's quickly cut across to Major General Dhruv Katoch. Welcome to Mojo Story, sir. A major success for the security forces since April when the Pahalgam terror attack took place. There was a search, a hunt for the terrorists linked to that attack, and now it seems that success has finally been achieved.
Thank you, Zafar. Yes. You see, when this dastardly Pahalgam attack took place, there was no way in which the security forces could reach that particular pace in less than 1.5 hours. I mean, that was the time which was taken because there was no presence of security forces there for whatever reasons. And by the time the forces actually reached there, these people had disappeared into the jungles, and it was very, very difficult to get them. But I think the one thing which needs to be understood, that once we knew that these chaps are somewhere, we didn't allow them to get back to Pakistan. They
Right.
would have made very fervent attempts to get back across the line of control back to
Yeah.
Pakistan, but they didn't get that space or that access to get across. And ultimately, of course, we've got him here. This chap, Hashim Mullah, he goes by the name Suleiman, and there were
Yeah.
two other people with him. The Pakistani nationals, Asif and Ali. They're the two names of those two individuals who were there in Pahalgam. I'm not sure who the other two individuals are. They have not been identified yet. But Suleiman, the Hashimullah fellow, this chap has been identified, and he was the leader of the group. This man belongs to he's a Pakistani commando from their commando forces. And I think he's a retired person. And he was in very close touch with the Pakistani ISI and also with the Lashkar-e-Taiba. He's a part of the Lashkar-e-Taiba. So with Hafiz Saeed, he's had contact. And at all times, he was in contact both with Hafiz Saeed and with the ISI. And I think perhaps that is one of the reasons why we've been able to actually trace him out, but though it has taken a very long time. And the fact that we have finally got him, I think, speaks volumes of the dedication of the intelligence agencies, the security forces, and full compliments to four paras who have done an outstanding job in getting hold of this person and neutralizing him. Suffer.
Right. One of the things that was discussed when Pahalgam terror attack took place, that they had left no traces of communication because they were using Chinese instruments, Chinese communication links, and that is why it was very difficult to communicate, to trace their communication. But what's happened is that some days ago there was a beep that was recorded in that area, then there was again silence, and again there was some sort of a sound, a communication sound, and that is what led the security forces to the spot where they were camping in those forested areas, and they were hiding inside a tent. So, given the fact that they have been hiding for all these months and security forces have used multiple means to get to them, some overground workers were also detained and they were questioned, but finally, these people have been eliminated. Uh, Clearly, it is not them only being involved in the Pahalgam terror attack. There have been multiple attacks in Jammu region also, where they were using these American rifles and similar sort of weapons. But clearly, this has been extremely clean operation by the security forces. We're told just a few bullets were fired and they were just taken out point blank.
Actually, these operations can only be carried out with that level of stealth. Because once the terrorist gets information that okay, somebody is coming after me, again he'll disappear into the jungle, and it is very difficult finding him thereafter. So there is a requirement of reasonable pinpoint accuracy. At least we should know that area. Then the people come out, you observe the area, and then move around in the jungles till you get them. It is not an easy operation. I have been through such operation. It is very, very difficult, very time consuming, which is why I'm saying four paras has done an outstanding job. But ultimately, you see that electronic communication, even if it is a beep for 1 second, these small indicators really, when it is coordinated over a period of time, it gives the security agencies that one chance. And even then, it is very difficult. It is one chance in 1,000 that you will actually get him with that beep. But in this case, they were successful. I think there has been a great deal of focus because Pahalgam had to be avenged. Now we
Right.
got the main handlers, the Lashkar-e-Taiba, the Jaish-e-Mohammed, all those camps we have taken. Uh, to some extent, the leadership, the middle-level leadership within Pakistan that has been eliminated. But these people physically carried out the attack. And some things which they said were absolutely unacceptable. I mean, when you make it into a communal issue and then you take the men out and you shoot them in front of the wives and children, I think they have descended to a level which is unacceptable. I don't think any country can be proud of their nationals who do things like that. And I think Pakistan should be ashamed for what those people have done. But rather than being ashamed, they actually treat it as a badge of honor, which speaks very poorly of the country. That's the way I look at it. In warfare, there is enmity, yes, there is hatred, yes, but underlying that, there is always a sense of honor. Like in Kargil, when we killed the Pakistanis there, it was the Indian troops which buried them with honor. The Indian troops buried them, all of them. And the Pakistanis refused to accept their own people. So I think these are the things which I think need to be broadcast, told to people. That even in warfare there has to be some code of conduct. And what these terrorists did, I think, was unacceptable. It is as bad as what the Hamas did when they took those hostages and killed the women and children and took them away. Uh, there are some things which are not done. And I think when we talk about what they did in Pahalgam, what happened with the Hamas, I think these are not done. And the faster the world gets together and really tells people that any country which supports such actions needs to be branded a pariah and disassociated from, otherwise behaviors won't change. And as far as this particular action is concerned, I think the security forces need to be commended. The intelligence agencies certainly need to be commended. It is very, very difficult. It is something like in a haystack finding that the proverbial needle, which could be anywhere, and you have to search and search and search till finally you come to it. And then when you come to it, executing that operation with pinpoint accuracy, I think that has been done remarkably well. As a soldier, I know it. It is a remarkable operation, and a salute to the four paras who have done this remarkable job.
And the operation is still ongoing. There was an army press conference that was scheduled that has now been postponed. Now, one reason can be that the operations are still ongoing. It could be there could be more terrorists in that area, or perhaps the parliament session is on. But the press conference that was supposed to take place had now been postponed.
I think there are two other terrorists caught with Suleiman, and as I've told you, their name. Were they also involved in Pahalgam? So I think that identity has to take place because the army is not going to state that unless you have got 100% proof, okay, that they were there. But if they were there, then of course, then that will come out in the statement, which I presume that the army is waiting for that to find out what is the identity of these two. There was an Indian component to it also, and I think the very fact that these people have spent, right from March till right from April till now, hiding, they couldn't have hidden like that. So they have local support. There are people, there are fifth columnists, there are traitors within the country who have been helping them. And I think there is a need to understand as to who those people are, get after them, and see that they're also given the just deserts. They need to be brought to justice because those people are sabotaging or denigrating the fair name of Kashmir. Just for the handful of you, there are hundreds of thousands of Kashmiris in from Srinagar and all other parts, all of the districts of Kashmir, of the Kashmir division, and for the sake of a handful, a very large community gets a bad name. So I think it is important to find out who those bad hats are. There are very few of them left now, and we need to. I'm quite certain the security forces, in due course of time, will go after them too and see that they are apprehended. And once that is done, I think terrorism within the Kashmir Valley and within the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, I think will go down to a very considerable extent.
In the meantime, IG Kashmir BK Birdi has also spoken. Let's hear that short soundbite before we go ahead.
The operation is still continue, ठीक है ना? It was an operation which is quite prolonged for a long time, ठीक है ना? That is still continuing, but in which Jammu Kashmir Police, paramilitary and army, they have an exchange of fire in the higher reaches. So as per the interior reports, 3 bodies have been observed and seems to be neutralized. So this is all, but still it is operation. So I would not like to divulge much at this moment. We will share details with you at an opportune time. Because it takes some time to get more.
Mr. Birdi, they said two of them were involved in Pahalgam terror attack, Yasir and Suleiman.
As I said, it will take us some time for identification and all that. Still parties are inside and all that. It is, I would like to say...
A bit of background, not the information. How long you were actually preparing for this, chasing them?
I'll let you know we will let you know at the opportune time.
Thank you so much.
Right. So the IG, they are giving details, of course, short of naming the terrorist, because of course the secondary identification will take place. The photographic evidence is there. The other signs are there. But as you were saying, the people who helped them all this time, there are some overground workers who have been already detained by the NIA. Maybe they will be taken for identification. Once they are very sure, and then they will put out that statement. But Suleiman and Yasir, those are the names that are there. But I wanted to ask you about the TRF, the whole business of TRF, the Front for Lashkar-e-Toiba. That gets now completely busted. Because what is TRF? This is a group of terrorists who are Lashkar terrorists. One of them, probably a former soldier of Pakistani special forces who could execute this operation, lead this operation and hide for so long, now has been eliminated. That TRF has now been designated as a terrorist outfit. What difference does it make for the security forces? Because India has always been saying that TRF is just a front for the Lashkar.
No, very frankly, whether we say it's a front or not, ultimately it doesn't really matter. There are terrorists on the ground, they've got weapons. And as far as the security forces are concerned, they have to be eliminated. Now, TRF, why it was named the TRF, the Resistance Front, is because Pakistan was finding it very difficult to deal with the Lashkar-e-Taiba. And the Lashkar-e-Taiba, because once they, it's declared a terrorist organization, their funds start getting, the bank accounts across the world start getting seized. Then it becomes an embarrassment to the Pakistanis. So they created an offshoot. They basically just changed the name. The Indian component, they simply called it the Resistance Front. But it's the same people. Like this particular person, Suleiman, he is a Pakistani national. He belongs to the special forces. I don't know whether he's in service or he's retired. Most likely he's retired, right? And he is very close to that means he's briefed periodically by the ISI and also by Hafiz Saeed. He goes to the madrasa, So all this, we are aware of all these activities which are going on with these people. But it's very difficult to tell the world and to tell them to believe it. So as far as we are concerned, even if all the proof is given, I think Zafar, very frankly, when we are looking at the world opinion, every country is worried about its own national interests. So when we are looking at the Americans, if they find that the Pakistanis are useful to them for some particular purpose, they won't really bother about these small little terrorists and all that. They will say, okay, we understand there's a problem, but we need Pakistan. And they need Pakistan now to deal with Iran. Earlier, they needed Pakistan to deal with Afghanistan. Now they need Pakistan to deal with Iran. Should something go wrong in Iran, again they require Pakistan. So Pakistan has again got that leeway, which
Yeah.
for quite some time they had lost. But
Yeah.
I think we have to understand this is the way international relations work. I don't think India should get perturbed about it. International relations always works that way. Every country is looking out for itself, and that moral angle which people generally try to take, okay, this is good or this is bad, that doesn't really matter. There is nothing good and bad in international relations. Countries will look for their national interest. Terrorism, if it suits them, they'll criticize it. If it doesn't suit them, they will keep quiet. So at this point of time, the Americans, they won't outrightly criticize the Pakistanis, knowing fully well that they are involved, but they understand. And I think we should also understand, okay, there are certain American compulsions, but India must do what it has to do. And we have to curb this terror, and we will do whatever has to be done, which is why I think Operation Sindoor is a very good operation. Certain lessons were taught to Pakistan, especially the non-kinetic lessons will continue for a long time in terms of the Indus Water Treaty. And as far as the terrorists within the valley are concerned, I think gradually they're getting the message. And as and when they start getting eliminated, the public support will also reduce. As it has reduced a great deal. It'll reduce further. And once that public support becomes zero or close to zero, it is practically impossible to restart the organization. That is the way things work. So we've got to get it to that level, and I think we are heading towards that.
And we saw after the Pahalgam terror attack, spontaneous protests in Kashmir, people really coming out on the streets and protesting against what has happened. That was sort of that project that gave a different sort of outlook to the whole thing, that Kashmir have rejected terrorism and they are condemning what has happened in Pahalgam. But do you think this particular encounter will also help to nail Pakistan? Because all the time they've been saying, where did these terrorists go? Did they vanish? Nobody caught them. That was the argument that was coming in. Now they have been found. We're waiting for the confirmation whenever the army gives the confirmation. But for now, according to media report, they have been found, they have been tracked, they have been cornered, and they have been killed. Will this help to nail Pakistan now?
No. You see, the point is, even if I prove it to the whole world that this chap, Suleiman, this is his Pakistani identity, this is his Pakistani army number, this is his village, these are his parents, Pakistan will deny it. They denied Admiral Qasim. You see, the point is, they will say, no, this is not adequate proof. What is adequate proof? It's very difficult to say this is adequate proof because the other country has to accept it. Pakistan will never accept it. And so long as Pakistan has got some utility to the Americans and to the Western world, especially considering the present imbroglio in which they are finding themselves in between Israel and Iran, they will hedge their bets. So they will tell India, we understand, and we will fight with terrorism and all that, against terrorism, and do everything. At the same time, they really won't take any stringent action against Pakistan. I don't see, despite this, I don't see Pakistan being put on the grey list from the FATF, because that is the way American interests are working. But tomorrow, if theoretically, if America sorts out its problem with Iran and they have a good, decent diplomatic relationship, a reasonably friendly relationship, then Pakistan loses relevance. And I can assure you they will get back onto the grey list. So that is the way the Americans function, the Europeans function. We have to, okay, I mean, either India becomes that super strong that, you dictate world policy, or we understand that this is what the other powers will do and we do the best we can to eliminate the problem at our end. India is alone in fighting terror as far as terrorism on our soil is concerned. Nobody's going to come to help us. We have to do it ourselves. It's our war. Zafar.
Right. And lastly, this group of terrorists, if we go by their activities, they were on the Pir Panjal mountains. There were terrorist attacks that took place in Udhampur, in Kathua, towards the south of Peer Panjal, and then in Pahalgam towards the north of Peer Panjal. Now they've again been tracked and cornered in a forested area on the peripheries of Srinagar. One of the reasons is when they are Pakistanis, they cannot mix up with the local Kashmiri population. They can easily be spotted. And another reason that they have thought is that perhaps Kashmiris have totally condemned terrorism. That's another reason that they were living in those places and in those areas, out of keeping themselves out of communication, just to prolong their the way that they were out. But they've had to be caught and tracked at some point in time, although they evaded for 3 months. Do you think that these Pakistani terrorists are now also, though they would be having support system, but they are realizing that the space is shrinking? That is why they are operating in those areas. And when they carry out one sort of a terror attack, then they go in hibernation for some time, then they again emerge, carry out another attack, because this is the same group of people, the same weapon that they have been carrying out, the same bullet piercing, those bullets that pierce the metal, all of that have been found, the same things that were used toward the south of Peer Panjal in Jammu attacks.
No, you see, Zafar, there's a difference. Earlier, when they were carrying out these attacks and they would hide for a month or two and then do a second attack, that time the whole public, as far as Kashmir was concerned, was not against them.
Yeah.
This time what happened with Pahalgam, when they hit at the tourist industry, now that has hit at the stomach of the common Kashmiri, and he's not a very rich man. There are people there supporting their families, right? And this is the tourist season. Now suddenly, from hundreds of thousands of tourists, it becomes zero. All those people, they have invested a great deal of money in buying stores and setting up their shops, and doing so many things which you do, because this tourist season doesn't last 12 months. There is a particular period. If you take a place like Pahalgam and Basaran, the meadow where the attack took place, tourists come for a particular period. Then the snow will come, the tourists will dwindle, and all that will happen. So this is the season, and you go and hit them at that season, which, as per policy, they would never do earlier. There was a policy amongst the terrorists: don't hit at the tourists, because that hits at the local people. This time they hit the tourists. And that by hitting at the tourists, they have hit at the local Kashmiri, the poor Kashmiri, the middle class Kashmiri, that the common citizen. And that is why there has been an angst against them. They said, listen, you can't do these things. And because of that, they were forced to stay in the mountains, because despite their terror, despite the fact that they have weapons, somebody somewhere would say these people are there and inform the security forces. So they had to be very, very careful. So they've hidden. They may have had one or two supporters and all that who would get supplies and rations and take them to their hideouts wherever they were. They would be changing their hideouts every 48 hours. I don't think they were staying in the same place for more than 48 hours. They would stay there, then shift their place, and stay there, shift their place. That is the way, because they were not secure. And it is because of that there's constant pressure by the security forces that they have been taken out today, which I think is a very, very positive development, and to a sense that they bring closure to the families of the all those 26 people who died, to their families who died in Basaran Meadow. It'll bring some level of solace to them. Okay, to some extent, justice has been served.
Right. And one of the indications is that they were always on the move, is that they were in a tent. They were somewhere, they had installed a tent, and they were just napping in the tent when they were neutralized. So, that's the visual of that tent. In some forest, they had just installed a tent and they were under this. They were probably moving from one point to another, taking that tent along. And, this is the place where they were under that tent when they were told that they were just sleeping, and they were just fired upon from a close range and eliminated. But clearly a big success for the coincident. There's a coincidence that on the day when there is a discussion going on in the Lok Sabha about Operation Sindoor, and on the same day, these terrorists have been eliminated. And this could be perhaps one reason that this press conference has been delayed. We'll have to wait and watch what exactly are the official details. We'll be waiting for that. But for now, thanks so much, General Katoch, for joining us and for sharing your thoughts. And thanks to our viewers for watching the Mojo story.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.